Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtakrayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his youth, text 60 onwards. आरे को विप्राइला कीर्तन देखीते द्वारे का पाठ ना पाइला भीतरे जाइते. So another Vipra, another Brahman came to see the Kirtan performance, but the door was closed and he could not enter the hall. फिरी गेला विप्र घरे मने दुख पाया आर दिन प्रभु के कहे गंगा या लाग पाया. He returned home with an unhappy mind, but on the next day he met Lord Chaitanya on the bank of the Ganges and spoke to him. Shapiva tomare mui paya chimano dukha paita chindiya shape prachanda durmukha. That Brahman was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Thus he broke his sacred thread and declared, I shall now curse you, for your behavior has greatly aggrieved me. This is not the purpose of the sacred thread, and the Brahman is supposed to be satisfied and very, very humble and tolerant. But somehow this Brahman was expert in talking harshly and cursing others. Sansara sukha tomar hau kavinash, shapashuni prabhu rachite hai laulas. The Brahman cursed the Lord, you shall be bereft of all material happiness. When the Lord heard this, he felt great jubilation within himself. Prabhur shapa varta yeshu nishadavan, Brahma shapa haite tar hai paritran. Any faithful person who hears of this Brahman's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahminical curses. So we all have heard this now. So we are delivered from all Brahminical curses. Why? And first of all, why did that Brahman curse in this way, that you will be bereft of all material happiness? And the Lord was happy. So anybody who curses the other person, he curses according to his mentality, his level of understanding. And curse means he wants the other person to suffer. So if I think material happiness is the greatest enjoyment, I'll curse the other person that you will not have material happiness. But I don't know the consciousness level of the other person. Just like if you remember Daksha, when Daksha cursed Lord Shiva that you will not get your share from the sacrifice, Lord Shiva was happy. Daksha cursed according to his mentality that because he was happy that he was getting his share from the sacrifice. So if Shiva doesn't get it, then he will suffer. But Lord Shiva was happy. He didn't want that share. He had to accept it as an obligation, but as a Vaishnava, he didn't want it. But obviously the curse, or after that, Daksha was still so proud that he had to be taught a lesson. So here the Lord said he was very happy, bereft of all material happiness. Why? Because it was his plan to take sannyas. Sannyas means no material happiness. It was his plan to take sannyas and travel and preach. And obviously go to Jagannath Puri and then fulfill the three interior desires, internal desires. But the Brahman cursed him in this way. So anytime somebody says something negative about us or in a cursing way, then they will be speaking according to their mentality, their level of consciousness, which is fine from their point of view, but devotees really, they are surrendered, so they don't really bother about anybody's curses. Of course, we don't want to make anybody so unhappy that he wants to curse, that he ends up cursing us. But they've completely taken shelter of Krishna, so they are not really bothered. And here Prabhupada say, or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, any faithful person who hears of this Brahman's cursing Lord Chaitanya is delivered from all Brahmanical curses. One should know with firm conviction that the Lord, being transcendental, is never subject to any curse or benediction. Only ordinary living entities are subjected to curses and the punishments of Yamaraj. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is beyond such punishments and benedictions. When one understands this fact with faith and love, he personally becomes free from all curses uttered by Brahmins or anyone else. This incident is not mentioned in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Again, talking about curse. In Mahabharata, Mother Gandhari cursed Krishna that you could have saved my children, my sons, but you didn't, so I curse you. So Gandhari's thought process was what? Without my family, without my children, I'll be unhappy. I'm unhappy, so Krishna will be unhappy if his dynasty is gone. But Krishna, he is Supreme Lord himself. And he just had to get rid of the whole Yadav dynasty and send them back. The whole incident is mentioned in Bhagavatam. But again, the cursing is according to our mentality. And actually, we should not be cursing anybody. Only I heard, I don't know if it is really true, I heard about it, that in Calcutta, either Calcutta or Navdeep, somewhere, they're always antisocial elements. So they were bothering some sadhus, some devotees. So devotees said, we curse you. We curse you to become devotees. So you will quit bothering all the sadhus. Well, that's a good curse, actually. Mukunda tere kela danda prasad khandila tahar chitter sab avasad. Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Mukundatta with punishment, in that way vanquished all his mental depression. Mukundatta was once forbidden to enter the association of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his mixing with the Mayavadi impersonalists. When Lord Chaitanya manifested his Mahaprakash, he called all the devotees one after another and blessed them, while Mukundatta stood outside the door. The devotees informed the Lord that Mukundatta was waiting outside. But the Lord replied, I shall not soon be pleased with Mukundatta. For although he explains devotional service among devotees, he then goes to Mayavadis to hear from them the Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, which is full of Mayavad philosophy. For this, I am greatly displeased with him. Hearing the Lord speak in that way, Mukundatta, standing outside, was exceedingly glad that the Lord would at some time be pleased with him. So actually the Lord said that the devotees asked, will you never be pleased with him? He is very sweet, he sings very nicely. The Lord said, I'll be pleased with him after 10 million lifetimes. So Mukundatta, he was exceedingly glad that the Lord would at some time be pleased with him, although he was not pleased at that moment. But when the Lord understood that Mukundatta was going to give up the association of Mayavadis for good, he was pleased. And he at once called to see Mukunda. Thus he delivered him from the association of the Mayavadis and gave him the association of pure devotees. So this was the incident with Mukundatta. Acharya Gosaire Prabhu Kare Guru Bhakti Tahate Acharya Bhara Hai Dukha Mati. Lord Chaitanya respected Advaita Acharya as a spiritual master, but Advaita Acharya Prabhu was greatly aggrieved by such behavior. Bhangi kari jnana marga kari lavya jnana, krodha vesha prabhu tare kailava jnana. Thus he whimsically began to explain the path of philosophical speculation, and the Lord in his anger seemingly disrespected him. So we discussed this past time, and the Lord and Nityanand Prabhu went to Shantipur, and Mahaprabhu really put Advaita Acharya, brought him down from Vyasa and started beating him up. Tabe Acharya Gosai Rananda Haila, Lajita Haya Prabhu Parashad Karila. At that time, Advaita Acharya was greatly pleased. The Lord understood this, and he was somewhat ashamed. But he offered Advaita Acharya his benediction. Advaita Acharya was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, Ishwar Puri's spiritual master. And actually, another story is there. So we know the story of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, he was such a great devotee that he was traveling all over, and he had one rule in his life, that he would not eat anything till somebody asks him, or till somebody brings him. And he would not ask anybody for any food. But the Lord has to take care of his devotees. So Lord was always sending somebody to take care of Madhavendra Puri. So, and he was always on the road, always traveling here, there. So traveling, he came to Braj. And then he came to Govardhan. So he was sitting at Govardhan near Govindapur and doing his bhajan. So whole day went by. He didn't eat anything because nobody gave him anything, and he would not ask anybody. So in the evening, a very beautiful cowherd boy came with a pot of milk. And he said, Baba, you haven't eaten all day, so here is some milk, drink it. Why don't you? Madhavendra Puri was surprised. How come you knew that I didn't eat anything? And the boy said, there's some gopis here, and they came to take some water, and they saw you, they told me. So I brought you milk. And you just drink the milk, I'll come back later and take the pot away. Okay? So Madhavendra Puri drank the milk, and he was doing his bhajan. He was waiting for the boy to come back, and then at night, and thinking of that boy, Madhavendra Puri slept. So in his sleep, he saw a dream. And in the dream, the same boy showed up. He said, oh, Baba, I have been hiding near the trees for what very long time. Why don't you take me out and establish me? Means it was the deity. And Madhavendra Puri got up, and he thought, first he was very unhappy that he could not recognize the Lord when he came to give him milk. But then he was like, okay, Lord has given me some service to take him out. So when the morning happened, he took some villagers around and went to that bush area, and they started digging, cutting the bushes and started digging, and they saw this deity of Gopalji. So everybody was happy, and Madhavendra Puri established the deity on top of Govardhan hill. And actually, this same Gopalji deity is now worshipped in Rajasthan at Nathdwar. So anyway, so coming back, so with the help of villagers, they established Lord Gopalji on top of Govardhan, and the villagers from all over nearby villages, they all came, and they were happy that Krishna has appeared in this way. And everybody brought some cows from their homes for the service of Gopalji. So they donated that cow. They gave the cows to Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri arranged for installation of the deity. They made a nice little temple. And all the Brajvasis, all the villagers, they brought some items, prepared some items for Gopalji, and they had a wonderful festival. So Madhavendra Puri then stayed there, worshipping Gopal, and he also trained up some Bengali devotees as pujaris of Gopal. So again, one day when Madhavendra Puri was sleeping, Gopal came to his dream. He said, "Oh Baba, although you took me out of this," and actually Gopal was installed earlier when Muslims attacked the temple. So pujaris hid him in the bushes and they ran away. But they didn't want Muslims breaking the deity. So Gopal said, "Oh Baba, I was in those bushes for a very long time, and it was very hot for me, and I'm again feeling hot. So why don't you go get me some Malay Chandan?" Malay Chandan is found near Jagannath Puri. And this is where Govardhan we are talking. So Madhavendra Puri made those Bengali pujaris in charge of the service, and he started walking because there were no trains or flights. He started walking towards Jagannath Puri, that I have to bring Chandan for Gopalji. So walking, first he came to Bengal. He came to Navadvip, Shantipur. And that is when he initiated Advaita Acharya. So this is what is mentioned. Advaita Acharya was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And then from there he went to Jagannath. Before he went to Jagannath Puri, he came to this place called Balasore or Remuna. Balasore is a train station. Near Balasore is a place called Remuna. And there is a temple and beautiful deity of Gopinath. Now you will be surprised. You will say, there are more stories. Yes, there is more story attached to this Gopinath deity. Maybe someday I should ask you questions if you really remember these stories. Actually. Okay, this Gopinath deity, when Lord Ram was in exile with Sita ji and Lakshman, so they came in this area while going through forests. They came in this area of Remuna. And while in this area, Lord Ram was smiling when they were staying there. And Sita ji asked, "My dear Lord, why are you smiling? What's so special about this area?" Lord Ram said, "Oh, I'm just thinking of my deity form in this area that will be worshipped here. And it will be beautiful deity." And Sita ji was surprised. And Sita ji said, what would that deity will look like? So Lord Ram, with his arrow, he carved that deity out of a rock. And that deity is Gopinathji, still being served in Remuna. So Madhavendra Puri came there. And in that temple, there is a wonderful kheer preparation they make for the Lord every day. And they offer 12 hearts of kheer. So when Madhavendra Puri came to take darshan, that was a time when pujaris were offering that kheer hearts. So and Madhavendra Puri, somehow he developed the desire that I wish if I get a chance to taste this kheer, and when I go back to Govardhan, then I'll offer this kheer to Gopal. But then he felt bad, no, why? The Lord hasn't even tasted yet, and I should not have this desire of tasting the prasad. So Madhendra Puri, he just left the temple and he came to the marketplace and he was doing his bhajan. So the Lord was offered the kheer, and it's called Amrit Keli. And then after the Lord was offered, the pujari then cleansed the temple and closed the door. He took out all the parts of kheer, then when we mixed the prasadam with the bhoga, and he cleansed everything and he went home to sleep. Now in that sleep, Gopinathji came to his dream. And he said, my very great devotee, Madhavendra Puri, has come. And he developed this desire to taste the kheer when he offered me. But then he was ashamed of his desire, so he left the temple. I went to the marketplace. But I have kept one part of kheer with me when you cleanse the temple. So take this part of kheer and give it to Madhavendra. And Pujari was shocked. He said, why would the Lord do something like that? So he just took shower, he bathed and came to the temple, opened the door, and he saw this one part of kheer. The Lord has hidden behind the curtain. So he took that part, went to the marketplace, and asked for Madhavendra Puri. Is there somebody named Madhavendra Puri here? And Madhavendra Puri, yes, I am Madhavendra Puri. Here you are very fortunate. The Lord has stolen kheer for you, and here is a pot of kheer he wanted to taste. And since that day, Gopinathji is called Kheer Chora Gopinath. he stole kheer for his devotee. So he's named everything, Ranachor, Rai, Makhan Chor, now he's Kheer Chor also. And these days we are listening to this Chaurashtakam. So he's a big time thief. So Madhendra Puri, when he heard that the Lord has stolen kheer for him, he started to cry, and he was tasting the kheer. The kheer was really amazing, and he was crying, seeing the reciprocation of the Lord. So the part the Lord had stolen, so Madhendra Puri, he broke that part in small pieces, and he tied it up in his cloth, and every day he would eat some piece of that part. But still he had this to bring the chandan for Gopalji. So he left from Balasore, he went to Jagannath Puri. So when he came to Jagannath Puri, and Madhavendra Puri didn't want people to know about him, and so he left hurriedly, because people then he thought they would know and they would honor him, respect him, and he didn't want that respect. But things like this, they just spread very fast. So when he came to Jagannath Puri, the king of Puri already knew about the glories of Madhavendra Puri. So he arranged for all the sandalwood and kapoor, camphor, for Madhavendra Puri to take back. But I don't exactly remember how much, I think it was 40 kilos or something like that, big amount. So when he was going to take it back, it was very heavy. So king sent some of his servants to carry the wood for him. So on the way back, again, they stopped at Remuna. And at night, when Madhavendra Puri was sleeping, now Gopalji from Govardhan came in his dream. And he said that you don't need to come bring this chandan all the way back here. So you apply this chandan to Gopinathji, and I will get the cooling effect. It will cool me down. So that is when 21 days, Madhavendra Puri and his servants, they would make the paste of chandan and apply it to Gopinathji. And that is the Chandan Yatra. In ISKCON temples, every temple and every year, we do this 21 days of Chandan Yatra in summertime, when it is really, really hot. So that time we apply in India to the Lord, and they get cooled. And in fact, in the process, the devotees who have helped in making that sandalwood paste, the pujaris who put the chandan on, they all get this cooling sensation. That's also observed. Everybody's experiences that. So I guess I can stop here. I'll take up the same shloka tomorrow. So this is the story of Madhavendra Puri. And he was Ishapuri's spiritual master. And when he was leaving his body, Ishapuri, as we studied earlier, served him in Jagannath Puri, just cleansed his stool and urine. And Ishapuri, that's why it is said Ishapuri became the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he served his guru very nicely. Okay, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
So, Prabhuji, how often do we apply chandan to the Lord?
It goes on for 21 days in summer when it is really hot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.